Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Talkin Kop. It's me, Chris Brack. It's him, Kev O'Sullivan. Kev, Liverpool won a fucking game. I forgot what it
Yeah,
felt like.
not
first,
just
first win in five, and they won it in style. So it finished Frankfurt 1, Liverpool 5, and all in all, lots of positives. You
yeah,
know, not really too many negatives in the game. But you may have said off air. Let's not get too carried away. It's only the one win. So let's see what happens. Let's see if they can back it up. And they were a bit of a what should we call it? A bit of an odd side to play, I would say.
yeah. I mean, first things first. The lineup come out. The lineup dropped, and it was, how is this? What's this shape going to be like? We said it last night. There are going to be changes. Didn't expect five, but when the lineups dropped, I thought, okay, how is this going to line up? Is this like, are we going to see this 4-2-2? Or are we going to see a 4-2-3-1 with Ekatike playing wide? Or because it was, I think Footmob had it lined up with Ekatike playing as a right attacking midfielder in a 4-2-3-1. It wasn't until the game kicked off that we finally knew it. That lineup dropped. There was Mohamed Ashrali in goal. You had Frimpong, Kanate, Virgil, Robbo. You had Verts, Sabazlai, Jones, and Gakpo as your midfield four. Ekatike and Isak up front in a straight 4-4-2. But
Mm.
it didn't play like a 4-4-2. It really fucking didn't. And all in all, I think this looks to me like Arne Slot picked a side to play the opposition that he knew that they were what they were going to do,
Yeah,
and it was telling from the off. They did what every Premier League side this season didn't do. They played out from the back. They invited us on. They invited the press, and they encouraged us to attack them or to try to break our shape. And no Premier League side has done that this season. Even Manchester United, everything went long. Almost every side in the Premier League, from goal kicks, from playing off and back, will go direct. And it's very difficult to organise a press. But you saw tonight, when a side tries to play out against us and we can organise a press, especially in this shape, it was brilliant tonight. I loved every single bit of it. Yeah, there's teething problems in it, but I say that starting 11, that shape that we've used tonight, that shape has legs. I'd like to see this worked on and evolved over the next few weeks, months, and
mm.
see how it works because it gets an awful lot of positives out of an awful lot of players for very different reasons. It allows you to play in so many different ways. I thought in an attacking sense tonight, yeah, we scored five. We really could have scored 10. And
Yeah.
if we'd have really ran riot tonight, there wouldn't be an argument because look, Frankfurt, for all
They
of
look
the
they
stuff
look
that we
frazzled.
talked about,
They look
they did.
frazzled, didn't they? And
But
I think the early press frazzled them a little bit.
yeah, but that's what they invited by the way they play. So it's like there's a reason why I think they're the second highest scorers in the Bundesliga this season. You can see why. In transition, if they break the press, they're very dangerous. So it's one of them that we backed ourselves in our press and it paid off. But I honestly think you have to look at this game and say, okay, Brentford aren't going to do that.
No, they're not.
Keith Andrews is going to go into training tomorrow morning and said, lads, watch this and see everything that they did. Don't you even dream about doing this on Saturday.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
even
why.
think about it.
That's why if we lined up that way against Brentford, it's like that would be an interesting test for it because it would be a different
Mm,
style of threat. But I suppose if we just stick with the lineup for a second
yeah,
of like the ones who didn't play, if you had to put them in, you're basically saying, well, it's Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai who sat as a two, and they did sit as a two. You may have bored everyone relentlessly about this box that we used to have last year, which was Gravenberch, McAllister, Van Dijk, Kanate. That was their all game. I think the one time it probably wasn't was actually their goal, but in general, that gave us a solid base to work from, which allowed Robbo and Frimpong to get a bit more involved in the attack. But at least if you have them two, and you say, well, if they come out, McAllister and Gravenberch go in, you may almost say to those four lads, you four fight for two positions. That's your role. in terms of the other attackers, if you're gonna, it looked more like at times Isak pinned the striker and then sort of allowed Ekitike to drop off to get a bit
Yeah.
more space.
Yeah, and that's what you got. You got two center forwards there who are two different things.
Mm.
Isak loves to get to spin a centre back, pin him back, and then look to spin him behind. Ekitike will press him in and then come short and look to link up the play. And that's how I do. They look like they could really be an effective partnership. So
yeah,
going forward, I think I wouldn't mind seeing that as a partnership, backed up by a two strikers in Salah and Chiesa as your options to play in this system. I don't think you can play like Verts played as a right midfielder. He really did. On paper, he did. Off the ball, he dropped back.
He felt it right, but on the ball, he was allowed to come more central, which is fine. Yeah. Whereas, to be fair to Gakpo, he kept the width, so he gave you a bit more. He kept the width and allowed the one to drift in. And I mean, the benefit of that system, which probably didn't see it when we tried to do something similar at Palace, was when Verts does like to come in, Frimpong went.
Yeah,
and
he held his position high while he was on the pitch. He held his position high. So,
and to be fair to Bradley, he actually did the same thing.
He did the same, and that's fine, and he was good.
And he did get booked.
No, I mean the best thing about having someone like Conor Bradley doing that job is if you've got the ball out on the left. Do you remember the chance he had in the first half from the header?
Should have fucking scored. We'll talk about that in a minute.
No, but you have that option of putting a cross in to the back stick. Look for Isak and Ekitike. But if it goes longer, Bradley's 6 foot and he's coming in over a fullback. So you have that option as well.
That's the difference between him and a Trent. Trent doesn't. That's not a run Trent would ever make.
No,
because he's the one delivering it. To be
exactly, fair. Yeah. So from the other side, it's like you have that option.
It just gives you a different attacking mode.
I know, but what I'm saying is you have that option from the right hand side, putting a cross in, and if you try to hit Isak and Ekitike with your cross, you got Gakpo coming in who's 6'2".
Yeah, Ocean points out Liverpool haven't lost in Germany away since Leverkusen 2002. I mean, we don't want to talk about Leverkusen 2002, but our record away in Germany is very good, which helps.
Yeah, I mean, I went into last night, after the show last night, I was buzzing. I was really looking forward to the lineup. I was looking forward to how the shape we were going to play, because you knew there was going to be a lot of changes, but I didn't think like he would drop Salah. But when you look at the rest of it, I thought, I can't wait for this, because no matter what happens, there's going to be goals. And they were the perfect side for us to build our confidence and to get back on the board. I think the push tonight puts us up into 10th.
Yeah, we're same points as Newcastle and whoever else is above us. So Newcastle are 8th.
Yeah.
Same points, but I think their goal difference is +2 on us. So, like I said, you're only a point off, Man City.
Yeah.
That's where you are. So that's why the win tonight was important. It just gets you back in that mix. You're now looking going, okay, you now probably need 10 points, I would say, from the remaining games. Because 15, 16 points gets you top 8.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you were looking for.
That's all you're really looking for. I mean, look, the game started, and I thought we started really well. I thought their goal came against the run of play. And I think that's kind of the downside of this formation, that if a side breaks your press, and when they made the pass from their left back into midfield and got around Szoboszlai, I think it was Doan, took the ball on and he had the whole midfield to himself, because that was one of the few times that they actually did break the press in an effective way. Once they got the turn, it was 2-touch football all the way. Nobody could get anywhere near. We were trying to get back into a shape. The ball gets out to Christensen and he checks Robbo, gets his shot away. Mamardashvili can't do anything about it. It's a brilliant strike.
It's posted in. So there's nowhere he can
posted in, yeah. The only one you could say, can Robertson get closer? Yes. Should he get a shout to get closer? Yes. A shout from Van Dijk should have been told, go and press and make him check his run again. But once he got the touch, it goes through Robertson's legs and you're 1-0 down and you're sat there, you're like, here we go again. Because we dominated.
It did feel like that, didn't it?
Yeah, we dominated the opening passage of play. We were effective in what we were trying to do. You could see on the pitch what we were trying to get at, and it was just like a punch in the gut that you weren't expecting. And I sat there, I was like, all right, look, I know we'll get back into this. I just had, I didn't think with the way that we were pressing and the way they were playing that we wouldn't get good chances. So I was okay. I wasn't too worried. I was pissed off.
I was pissed off. But you saw me message. Yeah. It was just more of it was the one time they got a decent attack, and you did wonder where the two centre mids were. Now, when you watch it back, I think because of where Wirtz loses the ball, arguably it's a foul on Wirtz, but when you don't get the foul, you've got to react to get back, and he didn't, which kind of lopsided us. Jones actually ends up being more right-sided centre-back. I think he's covering because Bradley is gone, because obviously he's gone for the overlap past Wirtz. So he's actually done his job in terms of he's covered Bradley's player. Yeah. And look, you got to give him credit. It was a quick 1-2 touch football, which is a bit frustrating. But then Liverpool got themselves back into it. I mean,
well, Hotline makes a point here. Their goal came from our midfielders not being in position. What we've all been saying, true, but I'll caveat that by saying our midfielders weren't in position, because this is one of the few times this season where a side have actively looked to play out from the back, and we pressed them like absolute maniacs. And bearing in mind, up until then, we turned the ball over in their half because of how we were pressing. So it goes back to the style of play under Klopp, where it was high risk, high reward. The high risk is you will win the ball effectively up the pitch, and you will get chances to get in on them. The downside is if they break your press, it's a scramble defense where whatever position you're in, whoever you are, that's the position you come back in a straight line, and everyone is going to be out of position. That's the only thing I'd say about it. I'm not going ham on them being out of position because of the context of the press we were trying to play. If they were going direct a lot more, and Dominic Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones were that out of position, yeah, I'd be throwing the kitchen sink at them. But because of the way we were trying to press them and to force them into a mistake, that's a high risk.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the one good thing about that half, which I'll be honest, we haven't seen well, is in the other games when we've gone 1-0 behind, it took us a good 25 minutes to really sort of react to adversity. We just about get ourselves back level, and then we do something stupid. To be fair to Liverpool after that, they kept playing the same way, kept dominating, got ourselves ahead, which we'll talk about the goals in a minute, and then didn't really give them any sort of hope after that. That was the one thing which we've been doing in pre-games, and we've always been giving the opposition a bit of hope. You could tell, especially with the manager's body language, with half an hour to go, just said, blow the whistle. I've had enough. He looked fed up, to be honest. Yeah. Look, it's not nice when you're on the receiving end of it. We've all been on the receiving ends of hidings, but let's talk about the goal. Ekitike just continues to impress and score goals, especially when he starts.
Well, that goal came from they were on the attack down the right. Their winger got past Bradley, looked to play a ball across for a midfielder to be running onto. Nobody was. Robertson he knew the ball was coming onto him, so he knew there was nobody around him. He knew he was getting the ball. He lifts his head up. Ekitike is gone. As soon as Ekitike sees the ball coming across and nobody's there, he's gone. So he's telling Robertson, play it. And Robertson one times it, plenty of pace, in behind, and 3 touches, and it's in the back of the net. The first touch gets it out of his feet. The second touch gets him across Theatra. And the third is in the net. And in that time, he checked that he was ahead. He knew he was ahead of Teatra, or I think it was Coke. Sorry, it was Coke. He gets across him. He can't touch him. He looks twice to see where the keeper is and where the keeper's going, and he just slots it through him. It was a brilliant finish. It was an absolute world-class finish. But all credit to Robertson. Bearing in mind, he was getting blamed and pinned for the goal, and he shrugged that off. It was a difficult enough pass to play that first time. You know, a lot of players would have taken the touch and then hit it, but he took it first time, brilliantly weighted, and Ekitika does the rest, and it was finished absolutely brilliantly.
Yeah. Now, Kev, it's finally happened, and Ashley is in a different country. I mean, she's always
Yeah,
in a different country, but she's not even in. She's gone to Costa Rica. We finally scored not one, two goals from corners, Kev. Honestly, what this must be what Arsenal fans feel like. It's quite nice, isn't it?
it is. Yeah,
Went double Dutch for the first one. Gakpo's corners were decent.
the majority of them were good, into good areas. The first corner, I mean, this wasn't our first corner, but because of the way they were marking, they were zonal marking, and it was Ray Houghton was saying it in the commentary that I was listening to. They're static. They're static in the.
I had Fletch and Ali McCoy. Oh,
well, because they're static in the way they defend, they don't attack the ball, and they don't have. I think it was Kevin Doyle was talking about it at halftime, where he was saying when he was playing, you'd have the zonal marking, but you'd have two players free just to attack the ball, and they didn't do that. Once the delivery is right, you're in. You know, I mean, Virgil started, his starting position was on the penalty spot. He catches the flight of the ball early, gets up over his, there's a bullet header. It was absolutely brilliant, brilliant finish. But that goal was all about, first of all, the press to win the corner, and then the delivery, and then the finish. Absolutely brilliant. It was an inch perfect cross, finished, and you go from being 1-0 down to 2-1 up, and you know, everything's rosy in the garden again because we didn't let up.
Yeah, and then we and then not longer, and then before we make it 3-1, I think Oshin pointed out, Bradley makes a fantastic block at 2-1, where which is something he hasn't done for a little while. Is he sensed danger and threw himself at it and thinking, and little things that we could talk about systems all we want. Some of it is just sniffing danger, and our defenders haven't been, and defensive midfielders haven't been doing that. But that's a crucial block. The two previous 3 or 4 games, no one's looking at that and we're suddenly going, "Fuck's sake, it's 2-2." Do you know what I mean? And then look, I think they give away a soft corner, and Canate, fucking hell, when he heads it, he makes sure it's headed, doesn't he? He absolutely went like a train past the keeper, which is good for him because actually I think he generally had a good performance. But I think the goal also gives him a bit of confidence. And you go to half time 3-1 up, you sort of going, that should be job done really, and happy days. The only downside was the Frimpong hamstring injury, and it's looking like a quote from Slot saying Alex either had to go for half time due to discomfort in his groin. Let's hope it's not too bad. Let's hope it's just
that's one that he's Frimpong. You were saying to me before we came on, his injury record at Leverkusen was really good. He played a lot of football at Leverkusen, and maybe it's a case we're suffering for that now. That all players, especially players with pace, do tend to get problems. You know, they do tend to get injuries. It's unfortunate because I think the system, the way we played it, with Verts defending from the right, but in the attack, drifting in, making up the numbers, freeing up the right wing for that winger would have suited him down to the ground. But yeah, that was the downside. But on Kanate's goal, again, that came from forcing a mistake from their keeper. That he couldn't prevent the cross, couldn't prevent the corner. So Boslai's delivery inch perfect, and it was literally a mirror of the other goal, near post, get power on the header, and there was he did that. I'm surprised if the keeper was anywhere near it. That keeper was going into the net with the ball.
Remember the Leeds goalie? Do you remember the Leeds goalie when
Melia,
Van Dijk did that to him? He went, he went in with the goal. So listen, the only thing we've got to hope with the Isak injury is when they said I say injuries, he said he felt his groin a bit. So you're hoping it's just a niggle, and they've kind of gone. Because I said to you, I said I wonder if because the 3-1 up, he was like a pre-arranged sub, or because the Frimpong having to use a sub in the first half, they've gone, oh, just bring this one forward because we're 3-1 up anyway. So this sub I was going to make on 60, so it saves me having to break play again. So
well, I suppose, look, we'll see over the next couple of days when the videos start coming out inside training and stuff like that. Everyone will be keeping an eye out for Isak and to see if it's just a case of he goes back and it's fine. It's just precautionary. That's what the hope is. We'll see.
That's what you hope. That's what you hope it is, because I don't know. You wonder if it was a 0-0 or you're 1-0 down. Do you perhaps try and push it? Do you push it a little bit? Maybe you do.
But the other thing is when he makes the changes at halftime, he brings Chiesa on, and you said, okay, you're 3-1 up. Is he going to change the shape now and revert back to a traditional 4-3-3 with Chiesa playing on the right, Wirtz playing in the 10, Szoboszlai and Jones as your 2 6s, and go from there? And he didn't. He kept the shape the same. Chiesa came on and went through the middle, basically did the role that Isak was doing. That
should have scored. It should have scored.
Yeah,
so unlucky with that volley.
Yeah, but it's like Isak did it in the first half where he flitted between the 3 centre backs, meaning none of them could come out and bother Ekitike whatsoever. So it's having that centre forward who's constantly looking to make runs in behind. And when you go back to watch the highlights again, watch the amount of times that you see a runner making that run in behind and knowing they're never going to get the ball, but it's just plays on the defender's mind all the time that they can't move out. They can't try to play offside. They can't take gambles because someone is going to run in behind. And in Van Dijk, and in fairness, you had it with Szoboszlai, picked out a pass in the first half, I think, for
Isak, wasn't it?
Isak, yeah. He just chipped it over the top of him. And in fairness, fair play to the keeper because he smothered it. Isak he took one touch and he tried to chip him, but the keeper was right. That was good goalkeeping, but it was a brilliant spot by Szoboszlai. So that was always on as well. So that's another thing in the attacking sense, that with this formation, if he sticks with his formation in an attacking sense and evolves it, they'll start to sense and they'll start to see the runs a bit earlier. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of scope. There's an awful lot of scope with this.
Yeah, and then we get a free kick just outside the box. Wirtz lines it up. Good save by the keeper.
Yeah.
Because Wirtz was lively all game, but then he finally got what we've been asking. He got that monk off his back. He got the assist.
Mm-hmm.
Nice ball. I think it's Szoboszlai into him, and he plays it square for Gakpo. And the standard Gakpo back post tapping. That's his goal. His 2 goals are the back post tapping, or he cuts his side and shoots. Gakpo again had a really good game. I think he had 2 assists. I think he had a couple of assists. Got his goal. I don't really get the Gakpo hate. I think he's done. I think he did really well.
Yeah, I mean, look, my first instinct was he was ahead of the ball for the cross, but he was just on.
Yeah.
But it was a really nice cross. It was a really well worked bit of play to get Wirtz out wide and the pace on the cross. It looked a really simple goal, but the goal was created by the weight of the ball coming from the cross. So, and he needed to get that one. I thought Wirtz was really good. Not super excellent at any stage, but effective in what he was doing, involved in everything. And I think the only criticism that Ray Houghton mentioned it, but the only criticism I think you could have at times in the games is stand still sometimes. Stand still sometimes and let the ball find you. Because he is everywhere. He's buzzing around the pitch, looking to get on the ball. all the time, and love to see it. But at some stage, just get in the pocket and hang around for a little bit, and attract players to you to free up space for others, or stay in and around the area. Someone will find you. There's players that are around you that are good enough to find you. So, but yeah, again, he's still bedding in. But tonight will do his confidence the world of good. That was on 66 minutes, and we still had chances before that.
Yeah.
So, and in all of this time, bear in mind you're away in a Champions League game against a side who is generally free scoring. And at one stage, they flashed a stat up that we had something like 16 efforts on goal, 13 on target. They had 3. That just goes to show how defensively effective our press was tonight. Our press tonight was a joke. It was prime Klopp. It was prime best Klopp aggressive pressing by everybody. All over the pitch. It was relentless. The only people who weren't pressing were the 2 centre backs. It was a joy to watch. I absolutely fucking loved it. But I know that those games that you're going to see that kind of effective pressing are going to be few and far between. I think you're more likely to see it in the Champions League than you are to see it in the Premier League, unfortunately. And that's due to the way sides set up to play against us.
Yeah. And then we saw a bit of flurry subs, I think. Mo came on, McAllister came on, and Joe Gomez came on for Ibu. So that was all good to see. And then Wirtz gets his second assist of the game. He just taps it to the side.
For God's sake. Yeah,
it's classed as an assist.
I know.
Listen, there's plenty of guys who've got loads of assists just for tapping it to the side, and then it's a good hit. It's a really good hit. Low bottom corner. Caps off a really good performance by Dominic Szoboszlai, and game over. Really, it was all grand.
Yeah, I mean, it was a brilliant hit, accurate as well. And do you know what? It goes back to having that option in the middle of the park. That if you are playing this 4-4-2, because it didn't really change, even after the changes, it was like you have that option from midfield for someone to come onto the ball and take a shot. You might get a corner out of it. You might be lucky enough, and you might get the odd goal from it because Szoboszlai has that in his locker. But more often than not, from that kind of area of the pitch, he's going to make the keeper work. And yeah, it was a brilliant finish. And again, this was on 70 minutes. You're sat there like, this really could be anything. But I think we went into the game management phase and we started to really keep the ball and look to pick the right moments when to go. And even then, when we lost it in their defensive third, I remember looking at the clock and I saw Robertson running to press their right wing back in their corner and winning a throw on 80 minutes. And I thought, fuck me. I love seeing that.
Yeah.
But I'm also in the back of my head saying, you don't have to empty the tank, lads. You're 5-1 up. Chill a bit. You've got a lot of games coming up here. But again, in the way we were playing tonight, that was as good as it gets. When it comes to performances this season, I think that's as good as we've been in an attacking and in a defensive sense. That's as good as we've been all season.
Yeah, I think so. And then I think Mo had a couple of chances. Yumi did, I think there is one where he takes a shot. I think he should square it to Wirtz. I know you're saying Mo will never pass it there.
Not a hole from 3 yards out. Not a chance.
But Mo's in form. Yeah, I agree. But the form he's in, easy square it and just get on with it. I mean,
I fucking wouldn't. At 5-1, I would have it a dig there. I don't care. Yeah, and I wouldn't be digging anyone out for that. I think if it's 2-2, a few minutes to go, that gets played across.
Yeah, possibly.
I just think.
I mean, the be-all end-all, it's not a big deal because it's 5-1. So it doesn't
exactly, yeah.
Matter.
And he had about 2 or 3 efforts when at the end, and don't mind that, because at the end of the day, he's a forward, he's a goal scorer, and he worked some good spaces as well when he came on. He He played some good triangles and played some really good passes into the final third. One thing I would say, with the balls when they were out on the right, we were looking for that little pass inside rather than get the ball out of your feet and putting crosses into the box. But it was, yeah, I just thought overall tonight, it's going to be interesting when we come down to picking man of the match and stuff, because there's so many more positives to come out of tonight than negatives, that you have to catch yourself. This in isolation is a brilliant result, a brilliant performance, and we were clinical when we needed to be, finished our chances well, worked some really good attacking play, but I want to see us back this up now. Brentford, again, is a different kettle of fish. Someone said in the chat earlier on, clever side, Brentford. Coming off the back of a good win on Monday night, and they'll have had a week to prepare for us. So we have to back that up now. So it's all about getting back to the AXA tomorrow, recovery, and work again for Saturday.
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone's now jumping on the Salah back, jumping the Salah bandwagon. I've seen a few say, Manny, I think Jonathan's mentioned, Manny feels Manny's pain. I mean, the most assisted person to Manny was Mo Salah. As much as everyone has this thing, they hated each other. I think they're very competitive, but the Manny's goals, the person who set him up the most was Mo Salah. So, and guess what? During the same position, Manny probably shoots there as well. So, let's see. Someone asking, Kev, have you gone to Movember early?
No, it's I've been working the last few days, and if I'm working, I just don't tend to have a shave. Thankfully, I don't have to. So, yeah, no. Look, unfortunately, from there down, my grey started down here, and it's so slowly working its way up my face. It's just, this is the last bit to go grey. That's all it is, mate. Liam asks a question there. Hang on a sec. Kev, do you think Mo could play in that shape we played tonight? I think in this shape, Mo would have to be a striker. You couldn't play him as a winger. But I think if you ask Mo to do what Isak did with a strike partner who drops short, and Mo is the guy who is occupying three centre backs, looking to make darting runs in behind, looking for players to find him. Yeah, I definitely think he could do that role.
I think so.
I think that with players behind him of the quality of Jones, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, I think they could find him. Ekitike. Yeah, I think this is what I mean about this system does have possibilities, that you could end up seeing Mo and Ekitike playing together. You could see Chiesa and Isak playing together in a two. One up, one off. If you wanted to line it up on paper and call it a 4-4-1-1, you could. But I think it's 4-4-2. But there's so many different ways of playing it. The key is having your midfield pairing being confident enough and really effective with ball retention, and having a defensive nous about them. And I think Szoboszlai needs to work on that a bit. There were times tonight where he broke up the play really well, and there was one in the second half where he got back and made a really good covering tackle and got a couple of good interceptions. But as we've seen for their goal, he was aggressive, trying to be the second player on the press. But when he gets played around, he vacated behind him. That's because Jones wasn't there. So it's developing that partnership. Again, that's going to take time, but I think it's worth persisting with.
Yeah, I think so. So who are you going to go for? Man of the match, honourable mention, could do better.
Man of the match, fuck it, Szoboszlai. I say that about his goal. I thought he was everywhere. He's got the lungs of a marathon runner, and his weight of pass for that chip that Isak had the chance with from midfield was fucking beautiful. I mean, his goal, brilliant. Assist for the corner, delivery from the corner, you expect that. But I thought overall, and I could have gone for his mate. I think honourable mention is his mate next to him, Curtis Jones. Most passes in the game by a Liverpool player, 112 passes, 96% pass accuracy. He is what he says. He is the can of beans. You know what's inside. He's ball retention, his aggressiveness in his pressing, and composure when he's on the ball. His willingness to take a gamble and take someone on, because very early in the game, he got pressed and lost the ball, but it didn't phase him, and he kept doing what he was doing. And he'll take someone on, go past them, commit somebody else, and then play the ball into the space that the guy has left. And that's what he's brilliant at. And I think
we saw it in the second half. The dummy he does to Robertson to then receive it back is lovely stuff. I've never understood the Curtis Jones hate.
No, I haven't either.
I don't get it, and it's this nonsense that if he was Scouse, if he wasn't Scouse,
he wouldn't be in the team. Yeah, do you remember that?
You wouldn't be in the team. Or if he wasn't Scouse, it's like he keeps getting picked. Everyone keeps picking him. You know what I mean? If my argument this season has been he's not been used enough. I think he should be starting ahead of McAllister. If you're asking me at the moment on form, McAllister's fourth choice. That's credit to him, because I just feel wherever you put him, he does better, really. So,
who's your Hotline? Well, this is it. I mean, Hotline's there saying could do better. It's tough. He went Robbo, but it's harsh, and it's like the good thing is there wasn't a standout poor player, and there wasn't. I think uber harsh to say Robertson on the strength of not blocking the shot for their goal. But I get it. But I honestly look at that performance tonight, and there isn't a could do better. I think that was a really, really good performance by everybody to a man. There isn't one. There isn't. I'm happy enough saying no, leave that alone. The two that I picked, and you could add to those two. You pick yours, because I could have added to those two that I talked about.
I'll just flip it the other way around. I would give man the match to Jones. Honourable mention will probably be Szoboszlai. All Wirtz is the other one, because I actually thought that's probably one of Wirtz's best games for Liverpool. He was heavily involved, got his assists. All in all, played pretty well. Could do better. If I'm honest, being blunt, it's probably Mo. He was the only one of the subs who came on who looked a bit off, but he's off form at the moment. So, could he do better? Yeah, I think he knows that. By the reports coming out about him, that he stormed down the tunnel after the end of the game. And I have no problem with that, because that's a player who's clearly not happy with his form and not happy that obviously he's not scoring goals, he's not playing well, so he's feeling it, and he's probably not used to it. So, but will Mo Salah come back and be brilliant? Of course he will. But in a game we won 5-1, the only player who came on who looked a bit off, he probably was Mo, because Gomez looked fine when he came on, as did all the other subs who came on, looked fine. Chiesa was really lively, lucky not to score.
That one.
That one over the shoulder. He was unlucky.
He was unlucky, because he never looks at the goal. He just takes a swipe at it. On another day, he catches that on his laces and it rifles into the top of the net. But I like Chiesa when he came on, because Houghton made the point in commentary, and he was spot on. It's great to see him fit. It's great to see him properly fit, because he was relentless in that half. The amount of times he turned over the ball, or he won, by turning over ball recoveries. The amount of times that when we lost it, he was the guy in the press who got it back. I think twice he nearly closed their keeper down.
Yeah,
by getting there, he's deceivingly quick.
I think the only thing that shocked me with his volley was it wasn't on target. Because you may have always said the one thing about Chiesa is he always works the keeper. It's very rare he doesn't.
Yeah, I think when he's in on goal, he had that one chance right at the end where he gets in and he has a shot and it goes out for. I think it might go out for a corner, but I think he's a really good player. I've always thought he was a good player. I mean, you got to go back. there were strong links after, I think might have been the European Championships where he played really well for Italy.
£80 million he was
Yeah,
looking at them for him.
it was an £80 million player. So that player is in there. And I think in this system, if you want to play it, evolve this 4-4-2, he can definitely be a key player in it because he can drop short, he can go in behind, and in game he's flexible.
Yeah.
You know, he can play out in the way. Like the last 5 minutes, I suppose, was when the shape did change and it did go to more of a 4-3-3. That Wirtz did drop into a slightly deeper role. Mo did drift out to the right and Chiesa did drift on to the left. So yeah, he has that flexibility about him as well. Plus he's turning into that Divock Origi cult hero thing. Now if he turns into that cult hero and scores the cult hero goals, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I know there's a bigger one online who are always outraged that he never starts. I just wonder, maybe it's a fitness thing, maybe it's not, but I just wonder, is the way he's built and the physicality of it and his fitness record in general, is he's actually built just to be the perfect guy for 45 minutes or last half hours.
I don't mind that.
Just because you need those sort of players. And, one thing he does when he comes over the last half an hour, it's very rare he's come off the bench as a sub and you've gone like, I forgot he was on the pitch.
Yeah.
He's always involved. There's always something involved. Even the games at the beginning of the season, I know he gets the goal against Bournemouth, but then he's involved in all the others.
Yeah.
And you sort of go, that's what, even United game, he gets the assist for the goal. You can go, as much as we don't want to talk about the United game because Liverpool should have won a game, but you kind of look and go, he's always involved, and maybe just against tiring legs, it suits him. I mean, listen, the way he's playing when he comes off the bench, if Italy qualify for the World Cup, maybe Italy should take him just as a chasing the game the last 20 minutes. He might be the guy just to throw on to get you the goal. Like you said, maybe he becomes the Italian Divock Origi.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be all right, wouldn't it?
He's already got the song. But no, there's a lot more to him than that. He's a top player. I'd be really surprised if Italy qualify for the World Cup and he's not on the plane. Because I think between now and the summer, he'll have played enough football, effective football, to give the Italian manager, it's Gattuso, isn't it? Yeah. I think he'll give Gattuso no option but to pick him. So, and I hope so. I really hope he's on the plane for Italy, because if he's on the plane for Italy, he's had an effective season for us.
Yes, that's the
best way to look at it.
Yeah, that's the way to look at it. If they're all getting picked on international sides, it's like, I still think the way Jones played tonight, I don't know why he wouldn't get into an England squad.
No, I don't, because if in international football, you want players who can retain possession and who can effectively get you up the pitch through the thirds, especially in a place where the climate is going to be hot, oppressive, and the football is going to be slow and technical.
And the other misconception of Jones is, the reason his passes are good is all he does is pass it back and square. What he doesn't?
I know he doesn't, but fine anyway.
He still takes risks. He still does. He's starting to, I think, a bit of the Ryan Gravenberch is starting to rub off on him for the old body swerve as well.
Yeah, I mean, real talk there makes a point. He deserves a chance to start games. Yeah, and he probably will. But at the end of the day, you have to look at who's ahead of him. You spent 140 million or whatever on Isak, so he's going to play. And Ekitike is scored 1 and 2. So he's ahead of him. And if you're going to persist with playing this 2 up top system, yeah, he might come in, and I think he probably will start a game here and there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's an option to start at the weekend if Isak does have a groin issue and he's got to be rested, because I think it's Southampton after that, and then back into the league. That's on the League Cup. Yeah, League Cup, and then league again the following weekend. So if Isak misses out at the weekend, there's plenty of time to recover. And if Chiesa is the one who comes in, fine. If Salah who comes in, fine, no problem.
I mean, the hope is it's just a niggle and he can start. Because I've got to be honest, away at Brentford, you want all your big lads away at Brentford. Because look, Brentford are fantastic at set pieces, and we know they are. I mean, well, don't make it to a Brentford pre-show, but that seems like the perfect game to start Gomez at right back.
It,
I'm quite happy with that. Just
it's
for that defensive side, because you're going to need that, especially if you decide to start on McAllister. Because I think if you start too many short lads against Brentford, I think you're asking for trouble. I know there is more to Brentford than that, but let's be honest, the set pieces are a big threat for them, and they're very
yeah,
good at them.
they are. I mean, look, we'll talk about Brentford more Friday, I think. So, I mean, overall tonight, you look at it and it's like that's you needed. I think result aside, results great, happy days. We needed that performance, and I think
Yeah, I agree.
a lot of players needed that performance. And the other thing I look at with the defensive side of it, I haven't looked at the final statistics, but I doubt that Frankfurt got into double figures for attempts.
No, I don't think they did
Yeah,
actually.
Liam makes the point here. Curtis Jones completed 122 out of 127 passes tonight, the most on Opta records from 2003-4 by a Liverpool player in a single Champions League game. And
And
you have to look at it.
I think
That
and
shows how
Liam,
dominant we were.
I think Liam he also points out that not many of those passes were backwards.
No, they weren't, because it's the one thing I suppose you look at tonight. The amount of times that we went back to Mamdashvili was very few. From a few corners when it wasn't
Four,
on to go back wide.
4 shots they had.
Yeah, 4. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous effort from us in a defensive setup
Just to give you a bit
in
of just to give
an
you
attacking
just to
third.
give you a bit of stats. They had 4 shots, 1 on target, which is
Yeah,
the one they scored. Liverpool had 18 shots, 14 on target, 11 clear cut chances,
yeah. That's what I said to you
and
tonight.
10 corners. It was ridiculous.
If that had been a double figures route, and you saw PSG tonight 1-7-2 with a player sent off. This weekend, have you got the results there from the rest of tonight's fixture? Because I haven't seen a single one.
Yeah,
I don't know what anyone was like.
I will get them up for you. So, Athletic Bilbao beat Karabag 3-1. Galatasaray beat Bodo Glimt 3-1. Atalanta Slavia Prague were 0-0. Chelsea whacked Ajax 5-1. I think Ajax were down to 10 as well. Bayern Munich beat Club Brugge 4-0. Monaco 0, Spurs 0. Madrid won 1-0 with a Bellingham goal. And Sporting 2, Marseille 1. A lot of goals this
Yeah,
Champions
but
League
I'll tell
week.
you, if you bring up the table now and you have a look at the sides who are in the top 8, unlike last season where it was a mixed bag and you had the likes of Man City and Real Madrid and all of that down in the bottom ends and PSG down at the bottom ends. This season, I think when you look at the top 10, 12 sides,
well,
the sides who are there are the sides you expect to be there.
Well, the top 5, PSG, Bayern, Inter, Arsenal, Real Madrid, all on 9 points. We've got Inter, Real Madrid shortly. Then 6 is, then it's Borussia Dortmund and City on 7. Then Newcastle are in the final top 8 spot on 6 points. Barca on 6 points and 9th, and we're 10th on 6 points, as Chelsea are 11th on 6 points. So there's loads on 6 points.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the Real Madrid game is massive because it could literally be a leapfrog moment.
Yep. I mean, Jonathan makes the point there. All of the big boys are winning. And I think it's a case that, look, all of the big sides are looking at the advantages. They're gaining. Last season was the trial run with this league phase. And a lot of sides would have looked at it and thought, okay, get into the playoffs. You're going to probably go through, if you're, like to Man City, PSG, you'll probably go through over 2 legs. And then you're into straight knockout football. Anything can fucking happen. This time it looks like everyone wants to avoid that playoff, and they're taking the early league phase of the Champions League a lot more seriously.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, obviously three of our last 5 are tough. They're going to be.
Yeah, you're in the Champions League. There isn't too many gimmies. And in fairness, I thought when our fixtures came out, the 8 fixtures that did come out, they were all fixtures that have their own individual issues. Yeah, they have their own individual issues. I thought our fixtures, I think Arsenal's are probably slightly harder on paper, but ours are tough enough. The only blessing I remember at the time was we don't have any massive away trips, like long flights and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So we've got Real Madrid next, and
Yeah,
then PSV at home, and then it's Inter Milan away. They're all the games we've got before Christmas, and then our final two games are Marseille away and Karabag at home.
yeah.
So
So yeah, you just hope to be in a position after the Inter game where you win your last two and you're right up into maybe the top four in the league phase, and that's where that's the ideal situation. So I mean, look, you'd love to finish at top, but at the end of the day, it's all important. Try to get into the top eight, avoid the playoff situation, and then we'll see what we are in the second half of the season. But tonight, you can only really go by the performance that we were put in front of us. The team that we were playing are a free scoring, freely attacking side, and we really minced
all
them.
three of their games have finished 5-1 in the
Yeah,
Champions League.
that's
Mad
it.
that.
But when you look at their domestic form, yeah, they're in seventh, but they score goals for fun, which means they create loads of chances. We didn't give them a sniff all night long because we pressed them relentlessly. So yeah, really happy with tonight.
Cool. Right, anything else, Kev, before we go? Oh, don't forget the sponsor, NordVPN. Details in the description below. Really good for internet security. Also good for if you want to watch content that is geo-blocked. You join the dots. And of course, you can see the QR code there. That's for our Patreon. So if you click on that, try it for a month. Only the cost of a pint. And look, we have exclusive shows behind the paywall where we're able to do like video analysis. We did a great one where we looked at all of the goals from World Cup '98.
Oh yeah, that was class.
It was class, especially when Ashley was watching us. Ashley hadn't seen any of these because Ashley announced she was just a baby pretty much when this was out, which really upset you and me.
Yeah.
And then basically about 10 minutes into it, we said, "Oh, these goals are bangers, aren't they?" And Ashley, "Is it?" I said, "Or the keeper's just a bit shit." And then literally the next 4 or 5 goals, you go like,
yeah, the
keepers are a bit shy. The keepers are a bit shit back there.
But yeah, look, behind the Patreon, there is loads of stuff that we've wanted to do that we just can't do on YouTube. And it is a bit of a laugh, and it is a really good community as well because join the Patreon, you come into the Telegram group, and it is a right laugh. I mean, there's always people in there, always chatting about whatever is going on. And no doubt, as Jonathan points out, Indy is about to drop something at 11 o'clock.
Oh, should we wait? Should we wait and see what it is, just for shits and giggles?
No, because odds are it'll keep us talking for 20 minutes, and I'm fucking tired. So it's
You're
a good way.
Tired. You're always
tired.
Tired.
I know, but I'm working for a living, and it really is a pain in the hole. I don't like this shit. But anyway, lads, thanks for joining. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Hit the like button on your way out and leave a comment on the show. If there's anything that you guys want us to cover on Patreon that we aren't covering or stuff you'd like to see, throw it in there because there's going to be another international break coming up in the near future. And we're always going to be scrambling around looking for stuff to watch.
Cool. Right, onto that happy note. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you all very, very soon.